Okay, so first, do you need a co-founder? It's rather sporadic to see a tech guy finding or trying to find a business co-founder for their company. When a tech guy has a product or business idea, they just go and build it. They put the product live, they promote it with their friends and their networks. And then if the product is good, it grows. I mean, it's not that simple, but the point here is the ability to build a product without spending cash other than, Red Bulls for the hackathons is a variable that could make or break a business. The most common struggle for businesses that are led by a tech person is usually around the sales side or the distribution side. If you only focus on the product or the technology, but you can't find a scalable way to get this product in front of people, things aren't working fine. Still, in today's tech world, it's, I want to say, easier to recruit growth marketing or salespeople. It's a lot easier, certainly, than to hire or recruit developers. Now, on the other hand, a non-tech person may have a product concept in their minds, but if they can't build it, then the idea is worthless. I really see a lot of founders go and pay for a tech agency to develop an MVP, which I believe is a terrible mistake. The agency will follow the direction of the client, but the final product will likely need to change drastically from what's originally conceived. When every single one of those changes requires a new contract or extra hours at a full cost from that agency, then chances are you'll be spending a lot of money very fast. Another incorrect approach, I believe, is to just hire a developer, especially if that person is overseas. Once again, the developer will follow the directions of his employer. And what I'm trying to get to is business people are often bad at product management. The first tech person in a tech startup should have founder status. They should have the ability to challenge the CEO and direct the product in the best possible way. So once again, this is harsh, I know, but if you don't have a tech or a UX background, then you probably don't know what makes a great product. You need to bring that expert that brings new ideas and not just follows directions. Even if your product concept is good, the first and the second and the third versions will probably suck. You probably can't afford to pay those versions to an agency, so you need to do it in-house with a co-founder that's committed to the business in the same way that you are. In the end, any startup is a race against time. And by time, I mean money. You can pivot your product, your growth plans, and your audience as long as you have money in the bank. So the more iterations a company can do, the bigger the chance of success. Now that I've hopefully convinced you that you need a co-founder, let's look into the ideal co-founder trio. Now, I believe this comes from a 2012 quote from Ray Inamoto in a South by Southwest talk. To run an efficient team, you only need 3 people. A hipster, a hacker, and a hustler. The hipster usually comes to the team as a designer or as a creative genius, and they'll make sure that the final product is cooler than anything else out there. Now, the hacker should have the capacity to build the product and scale it so that millions of people can use it without crashing. And finally, the hustler, which is, I think, a rather misunderstood team member. He or she is in charge of selling the vision of the company to the investors and then selling the product to the customers. Rather non-intentionally, we found ourselves with the hustler, hacker, hipster trio when we started Slightbee. And speaking from experience, it works. 3 minds are better than 2. 3 is also an odd number, so that's better for holding votes. And most importantly, these 3 co-founders should sum up all the skills you need to get your business to a fundable position. So the 3 of you should be able to solve the product, the sales cycle, the marketing, and any other major business challenges you could face before the business is interesting enough for an investor. Chances are you all 3 will work with low wages until then, and it is unlikely that you'll be able to convince anyone else to join at these stages. So you really need to be able to solve everything the business needs amongst yourselves. Now, I've seen startups with 4 co-founders or even more, but I think that could become a problem of cash flow when an MVP stage company needs to pay for 4 people's salaries. So how do you recruit your co-founders? We built a mock product called Co-Founder for April Fools, kind of a Tinder for founders. Again, it was our April Fool's prank for this year, but it helped us confirm how big of a problem this is. It wasn't a full product, but it exists just in case. And I've said this many times, a co-founder relationship is like marriage without the fun part. You need to see each other daily, you need to deal with tough decisions, many of them around money, and you'll be together for years to come, if not forever. You'll fight and argue and then need to see each other the next day. A co-founder will also be there to support you, to share the burden of building a business, to take over when you need a break. So yeah, it's it's like marriage. And I think that the best way to start is just like dating. Try working together without the full commitment. If you know someone that you've already worked with, then that should most definitely be a first choice. If you don't know anyone, well, try to put yourself in a position where you can share a project with your potential co-founder, maybe a consulting project. I'm gonna share my own experience with how I met and recruited the other co-founders for Slidebean. I came up with this concept of a simple, seamless presentation tool. I have some product background, but as I said before, the product we have today is nothing close to what I had in mind back then. So I went through elementary and high school with Vinny, who is our hipster, by the way, and we were close friends. We had done some high school projects together as well as a couple of collaborations in college. My undergrad was in 3D animation and his was in UX and industrial design. So I convinced him to join me for a consulting project. We worked together and conceptualized further on this idea for Slidebean. And then we found Jose, our CTO, on LinkedIn. We didn't do a job opening or anything. We simply stalked a bunch of profiles and reached out to the ones that seemed interesting. Jose had a well-paid job, but was interested in starting a business of his own. Vinny and I didn't force the idea for Slidebean. Instead, we sat down together to brainstorm of problem-solution combinations that we all had come up with across our years and our own experience. And of course, that we had the skill set to solve. Also, Jose didn't quit his day job right away. Instead, we worked together on some other consulting projects and started throwing ideas for Slidebean. It wasn't until we got accepted into Startup Chile that we were able to leave all our other jobs and consulting projects behind and then dedicate 100% of our time to the company. The most critical part during this dating phase is agreeing on terms. Who needs to sign paperwork if things are moving smoothly? Well, that's actually the best time to agree on things. When a team member hasn't done any work in weeks and everybody else is upset, yeah, that's a terrible time to discuss your terms. A few months ago, we started helping companies write their pitch decks, not only the design part, but actually writing the content. And then many of the idea stage companies we come across don't have a tech co-founder. And I get it. Convincing a developer who's making a 6-digit salary at Google to drop their jobs and come work for this company, yeah, that might be a very tough sell. Then on the other hand, proving that you can convince that person to quit their day job, that is the first validation that this business has promise. You want to recruit someone who believes in the company and who's willing to take the risk. If you don't have anyone in your network, well, work on growing your network. Attend startup events, attend startup weekend events, definitely not conferences. Again, think of it like dating. Hang out, grab a beer, test the waters before you fully commit. If you aren't able to convince anyone to join you, maybe take a step back and reconsider if the business proposition could be better.